So I want to talk about the El Paso, Texas mass shooting that happened on August the 3rd, which is just like a couple of days ago at the time of filming. It's not a fun topic to talk about. It's horrific. My prayers go out to all the families, all the victims, to the nation, to our president. It's a difficult time when you see mass shootings on the scale that we see. It's still relatively rare, regardless of what the media says. It's not happening all the time. It's a rare event. But it still is pretty messed up that this stuff happens in our country. And I like to know more, like, why? I mean, is it really just a mental health issue? Or is there a lot more behind the scenes? Is there a real conspiracy here? Well, you have to really ask this. If you're really wanting to know the truth, you have to ask questions. And what's so really sad is this. Just recently, a memo kind of leaked out from the FBI where they're labeling people who question the mainstream narrative as potential terrorists. And I don't, look at myself as some kind of conspiracy theorist. I just know that throughout history, there has been real conspiracies. I don't need a theory. I can say that there's been real conspiracies to do things to other people, to governments. It's a fact. And to say that, there's no such thing as real conspiracies. I mean, you're living in fantasy world. And for the FBI to label people who question reality, because you know what? The mainstream narrative's not always true. And to say that libertarians are also potential terrorists, you can tell that there's been an infiltration at a very high level within the FBI. It's very, very sad. It's kind of concerning, if you will. I mean, if not a lot concerning. And I hate to see that. I used to look up to the FBI as one of the last resources for true justice. But I don't think it's true anymore. I think they have fallen. Maybe not everyone within the FBI has fallen, but the leadership, in my opinion, is fallen. So let's get to this El Paso, Texas mass shooting on August the 3rd. We're told that 20 people have been killed, 26 injured. There's a single gunman, even though we have multiple witnesses that were in the Walmart that saw multiple shooters, in particular up to 4 people in all black garb and face mask shooting other people. Other shooters. This hasn't made any type of news at all. This type of information has been completely squashed. I wonder why. I mean, what do you think? At the time that Walmart in El Paso, this whole shooting started, there was approximately 1,000 people. That's what's being reported. 1,000 people in the Walmart. That's a lot of people. And the main reason was that there was some type of a children's program going on. I'm not sure what that was all about, as well as a back to school sale, a real big back to school sale. And on top of those 1,000 customers, you had about 100 employees. Walmart said there was about approximately 100 employees staffed that day because they kind of knew that it was going to be a pretty busy day. Now, the next part here, there's some things that aren't so suspicious and some things that might be a little suspicious. And I'm just going to put it out there. You make up your own mind. I'm a bit indifferent about some of these things, but I just want to put it out there. So it took 6 minutes for local law enforcement to arrive on scene. Personally, I think it's a little suspicious, not a lot, but I mean, if you think about how large this Walmart is and all these people there, and right next to it is a whole shopping complex, which contains a mall, and you're telling me there's no police officer in the mall, around the mall, in the Walmart parking lot, in the Walmart itself. You're telling me that whole area, there's no law enforcement at all? It's just a little suspicious. It's not that it's impossible to believe, but you just kind of wonder, is that really true? I don't know how many people are on staff in terms of law enforcement from the local and sheriff department in that area. Maybe they don't have a lot of officers. I don't know, but it took 6 minutes to get there. So after they arrived, shortly after, and different people are saying different times, so I'm just going to say shortly after, federal law enforcement started to arrive en masse. I mean, we're talking like some numbers. And as they were arriving, we had multiple SWAT teams that arrived. And I don't know if those were really from the sheriff's department or if those were from some of the federal agencies. They're not really super clear, but there were multiple, like I think over two. It's like 2 or 3, I believe, is what they were kind of insinuating in some of these reports of SWAT teams. But going back to the whole federal law enforcement, it was not only just border patrol, because you got to remember El Paso is right there on the border with Mexico. So that's not too surprising, because I can imagine like local law enforcement having, really good working relationship with border patrol and Homeland Security. But they not only showed up, but you have DEA, ATF, and the FBI. I mean, show up en masse, like really, like pretty quickly, right? Like during this whole thing as it was unfolding, it just seems like that's a lot of different agencies, if you ask me. Maybe that's just how it works in that area, but it just seemed to be a bit impressive, and almost as if these people were just standing by and waiting for the call to arrive. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it. What do you think? Now, I also now want to talk about social media and whatever they're referring to as social media. Apparently, there was an account from this shooter, and right before, and some people are saying as early as about an hour before the shooting, this thing was posted. And they're assuming from him, but that it was posted on this social media account. And this so-called manifesto. Some people are calling it like a hate manifesto, but basically just had his grievances that he was mad and upset, and just really had a lot of anger toward immigrants coming over. I guess especially the illegal immigrants and all this. And that's why they're calling him really a racist. That's what the whole mainstream narrative is. That this is a domestic terrorist hate crime is what they're trying to label and actually charge him with. I mean, they have already charged him at this moment for capital murder. I guess multiple cases of capital murder, but yeah, also as a domestic hate crime, based on terrorism. So you have that. But what's really odd though is that screenshots, like right during, up until like a couple hours after the shooting, had the shooter down in the social media account as a Democrat. And there wasn't that much more information, but shortly after, someone changed it to he was a Republican affiliate. He was affiliated with the Republican Party, and that he was a supporter of the NRA and a supporter of Trump. It's just very, very fishy. It's a very fishy thing there. What's also really fishy is that if he had this grievance, a very specific grievance with Mexicans, immigrants or nationals, I don't know how far it was supposed to go, but let's just say that he just doesn't like, Mexicans at all. Just everybody that looks like a Mexican person, he just wanted to kill them, Why would you go into a Walmart and start shooting everyone? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make sense. Now, some people say, well, he was mentally ill, nothing's going to make sense. Well, that's possible. But he shot the very young and the very old, and people who looked Mexican and people who did not look like Mexican. In fact, right now we have 3 Mexican nationalists killed and 6 injured. I don't know if there's any American or a Mexican American or however they say that these days, all kind of political correctness, if there was any others. But from what I understand, the majority of people shot and killed did not look like they were from Mexico. So what's going on there? Why is that conflicting with the so-called hate manifesto or the overall mainstream narrative? Why don't they go together? Because I'm just telling you what, if I just had this thing and against Mexicans, wouldn't you go to like a Mexican restaurant? Like you might have a higher chance possibly that you might see more Mexicans in concentration, or there's Mexican bars. There's all kinds of places that probably have a higher concentration. This all kind of reeks to me. Something ain't right. But what do you think? The supposedly lone shooter also had eye protection and electronic hearing protection to help, amplify his hearing and protect his hearing. He did not wear body armor, so he didn't have any kind of ballistic protection. And people report that he was very calm and collective, almost like he was like just unaffected by the murder. He was just shooting people, and he went up and down aisles and shot people, and then he just walked out and surrendered. I mean, literally just gave up to the police. There was no scuffle and no shots fired at him. He just gave up. It's almost like he knew that, okay, I'm just going to do this and then everything's going to be fine. I'm going to put my eye protection, ear protection. I don't need any body armor because, hey, I'm not going to be hurt. No one's going to shoot me. And that's what happened. Very interesting. So is that suspicious or not? I mean, I kind of have a hard time understanding if it is or not. So, I mean, you have to go back to the question of like, so what is this? Is this a mentally ill person? Is this someone that's been blackmailed into this? I mean, is this something like even darker? Like, you know, I mean, as crazy as this sounds, and I have to bring it up because it's a real thing. A lot of people may say, oh, this is all getting into science fiction. No, it's not. I'm just going to just shoot it straight with you here. Just tell you the truth. That there are programs within the CIA. There's compartmentalized programs that are classified through DARPA that work within the CIA realm. And these DARPA programs like MK Ultra are real, and they involve mind control, among other things. God knows what goes on in these facilities. God knows. And so it has now been declassified over the years about the Unabomber. The Unabomber was actually part of one of these DARPA CIA MK Ultra mind control programs. It sounds crazy, I know. I had to kind of read it 3 times to really be able to understand what the heck I was reading. But this is what's going on these days. People don't want to believe or think that, you know, our own government would do anything against us. Yeah, you might want to rethink that. Anymore, it's really hard to trust our government. And there's so much going on that's secret. God knows what's really happening, you know, all around us. And so why is it also that a lot of these mass shooters, they have parents that are in the mental health field? Like they're a high-ranking counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, you name it. And a lot of these people are directly connected to the CIA and or DARPA programs. Like they currently work for them. They're currently on the payroll and or they used to work for them. Why is that? Why is there so much of this mental health thing? And why is there so many of these people on psychotropic drugs or other types of drugs? I mean, mostly it's psychotropic drugs for like anxiety and depression and these things. What's going on here? What aren't we being told? And you know what? To what end is this all for? I mean, let's look at the big picture here. I mean, we could simply say that he's mentally ill, or these people are all mentally ill. And like in this case, it was just revenge, right? Revenge in the form of a hate crime that you just go and shoot people at random. It doesn't really even make sense, but let's just say that's an option. That's what they're telling us. That's the mainstream narrative. He's just a hate crime, but he's not really getting revenge on the people that he really hates. He's just shooting everybody. Like, really? Or is this fuel to start a race war? Is this to start a civil war? Is this to kind of help try to create more of a divide between races? Is this to promote gun control? And this is where I want to pause for a moment. If you're not aware of HR 8, Google it right now. You can pause the video and check this out. This is what the Democrats have passed earlier this year. My memory serves me right. Pretty sure it was, beginning of the year. And what's so crazy is it's not only just gun control, but it's labeled as a piece of legislation. Of course, at this moment, the Democrats in the House of Representatives are calling the Senate to come back, to be recalled for an emergency session to pass HR 8. And let me tell you what HR 8, and I mean, I'm not going to be able to tell you very much because I don't want this to go on forever, but I'll do a super summary. HR 8 is various levels of gun control. First, it's named though for having like so-called a universal background check. I mean, it sounds good on the front side, but we already have a background check. But when you dig deeper, it's about ownership and who can have what guns or what kind of guns in different situations. So for example, if someone died in your family, you can't just take that gun and put it in your house. If you do that, you're going to probably be a felon, from the way I was reading it. And you have to go and go to a gun store and take your whatever inherited guns and transfer it over to your name. Everything has to be registered. It's just horrendous. And I'm not probably doing very much of a justice talking about this HR 8, but you definitely want to check it out. You don't want to support this. This is tyranny and evil, and it's very un-American. Let me tell you that. Very un-American. There's all kinds of fee programs that they're allowing to be legislated in. Taxes and all kinds of things. And it's going to make it very expensive as well, especially in certain regions over others, to even buy and own or even transfer a firearm. It's just ridiculous. But that's what they're pushing right now, just to let you know, at this particular time of filming. So is it gun control like HR 8? Or what's going on? Is it just purely political? You know, I mean, we have CNN. I mean, this is a perfect example just to highlight this. That they don't blame, like CNN doesn't blame, the actual shooter for the crimes. No, they interview other politicians that are super left wing just so they can get the response that it's Trump's fault. It's all Trump. Trump is responsible for these mass shootings, in particular El Paso. Like Trump, like he didn't do anything. He didn't shoot anybody. He doesn't promote hate. And they're saying, yes, he does. He's a racist. I mean, have you actually looked into the black community, for example, and see how many people are Trump supporters? Because I have a lot of friends that are black, and I am a subscriber to a large number of black YouTube political channels. And I hate to even say the word black because it's just ridiculous. They're Americans, so I don't really care. I'm just saying it to make a point, though. African Americans, black people, whatever, they're Americans, and that's all that matters to me. I don't really care about your skin color. And these people there's a lot of really good channels from these people and they're very pro-Trump, and they're very clear. They say, no, Trump ain't no racist. I mean, he's done more for black people and Hispanic people and all kind of other so-called minorities than Obama has ever wished he could and ever did. Let's just be honest. So I just find it crazy that a lot of channels like CNN and other stations, they don't even blame the actual perp, the actual person who did the crime. They have to blame someone like Trump or, someone else. It's just, there's no accountability is what I'm saying. And that's about all I have here today, and once again, the FBI, just to kind of recap, if you label yourself or if you come off like a conspiracy theorist or a libertarian, basically they're calling you a terrorist or a potential terrorist. I think it's really sad that basically what's going on here is that you can't question the mainstream narrative anymore. And I can give you some very solid proofs. I mean, just here on YouTube, for example, you can't say certain things. Like this video, I guarantee has been demonetized by the time you got to it. I'm not making a penny off of this video. There is so much censorship on mainstream media, on news, if you want to even call it news. It's probably like half truth at best. Social media is so censored, and they've gotten rid of so many commentators and so many conservatives and libertarians that they don't have the pushback as they used to. And so you have these left-wing liberals just able to say whatever they want and not be countered because they've gotten rid of almost all the opposition. And that's why I feel compelled to say something, because a lot of other people can't. They've been banned from various sites. And what's even more freaky is reading just recently about how even the text message that we have, our private text messages are being screened through certain carriers. And if you say certain things, if you promote certain ideologies, just like you're not able to promote certain ideologies or question certain things here on YouTube, your text messages could be banned in the future. I mean, what? You tell me if this isn't getting kind of out of hand. I mean, it's been out of hand for a while, but this is really getting serious. The censorship is crazy. We're not allowed to actually think on our own. We can't say what we really want to say. I mean, there's a good chance that this video could just be taken off at any point in the future. I don't know. I've had things taken off before. I've not only been demonetized. I mean, hell, probably close to half of my videos now have been demonetized. And so for those people who think, oh, I just do this for the money. I mean, this video won't make me 1 penny. And that's why I really rely on you guys to buy patches, buy my books. It could be the physical paperbacks or my, eBooks. I mean, or use the hyperlinks, whatever makes a big difference. And I really do appreciate that. So anyways, enough of this rambling. So, hey, thanks, everyone for watching, for listening, if you will. And you guys be real safe. When you go out into public places, be very mindful of your public, options for safety, and what you can do to be safe, where you can go to if certain locations aren't, or they become unsafe, where to go, and what to do, and have options on your person, to pull from. And it's up to you, if you choose legal options or non-legal, that's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. I always try to be legal. That's one of the reasons I like to live in the state that I do, because I have a lot of options. I'm not contained like a lot of places. I can carry concealed pretty much any weapon I want. And it's really common too in my area. It's like most people have a weapon or two on their person. It's just not unusual. And so I like living in that kind of environment because, well, the crime rate where I live is pretty much non-existent. I don't really worry about that kind of thing. It can happen, so I'm not going to let my guard down all the way, but I'm telling you what, everybody wants to live in the city. And yes, there's some upside to living in a city, but you pay the price. You pay the price. And of course, not all cities are the same, and not all suburbs are the same, and even not all rural areas are the same. But I can tell you what, man, there's a lot less drama out in the in the rural area, typically speaking, and I like it. So when I see like these horrible mass shootings, I'm just glad that I don't go to a Walmart. I'm glad there isn't even a Walmart in my area. I'm glad that it would be difficult to do a mass shooting in my area. I mean, probably the largest congregation of people at any given time is maybe 10 to 12 people gathered in the library, which is down the road. And that's pretty much the only place that really people gather, I mean, maybe the local, grocery store, but really grocery store is so small and there's not a lot of people who live in this area. So I typically never see much more than maybe 10 people in the grocery store, even during peak hours. So anyways, just be safe, be careful, be aware of your surroundings, have options, have a plan to get out of wherever you're at if you have to egress. And I can only imagine the nightmare of being in Walmart and you're shopping, thinking everything's great, and all of a sudden, bam, 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 and gunfire just blazing out, and people around you dropping, or maybe you got shot yourself. I mean, that would be so messed up. That would be so bad. And just think, it probably, if this really was the situation that we're being told, and it was really just a lone gunman, and there wasn't other people, which I don't know why other people would say that, but let's just go with it and say there was just a lone gunman that did all this. All it would have taken is one person with a gun to stop the person while he was doing that. But yet they're wanting to have gun control to make it more difficult for us to protect ourselves, and nothing makes sense. And this is where it just gets kind of crazy, because the narrative, it doesn't warrant legal action like this. And you have so many people wanting, the government to make all this gun control. No, I don't know anybody that wants that. I mean, who are they talking about? People that really are ignorant would be promoting more gun control. We really need more freedoms. Because if there's going to be an uptick, and they're saying that there is, I don't know if there really is an uptick in mass shootings. I don't probably think there is, but let's just say that there is. Wouldn't you want the public to be safer and to have more options to protect themselves? Why would you want to disarm them more and make them more apt to be a victim? And that's why there's so much insanity when you look at the left. Nothing makes sense with these people. And that's why I don't really believe that they're going to win, in 2020. I think Trump's going to just steamroll over these people because they're just crazy. They're really just out of their mind. They're very extreme. Their ideology is it's not based in reality. I just pray for Trump almost every day. I try to say something, that's positive and ask God to protect Trump because he's got a lot of enemies. And there's definitely some things that Trump's done that I don't like. And I, in particular, don't like his suggestion of a possible increase in gun control in the future. I mean, I really hope not, Trump. I hope maybe that was just a slip of the words. Maybe you don't really mean that. I really hope you don't mean that because that's not going to go well. And the country doesn't need more oppression and more restriction. We don't need a loss of our freedoms. We need more freedoms back. We need to take back what has been taken. So Trump, stay strong, stay the course. That's what we need right now is a president that will stay the course and not be affected by these possibly, and I'm just saying it's a possible, I'm not saying it is, but this could be a false flag attack, as some others I believe have been. And then once again, not all mass shootings are false flags or nothing like that. I'm not into all that conspiracy thing. Some things are much more clear than others. And this one's kind of, because it's still so early, it's kind of hard to know what happened really in El Paso. That's why I ask questions and just want to hear what you think. So, hey, if you stuck with me this long, I really do appreciate it. Once again, you guys be safe. Catch you later.